From the Opubco studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching The Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. Time for our inbox segment where we take your email questions, answer them here on video. Barry, let's get right to it. We've got a bunch of different questions to get to, but we start with Brad. Brad says, not a fan of the Derek Fisher signing. I think Fisher's minutes greatly hinder development of Reggie Jackson, Jeremy Lamb, and DeAndre Liggins. What about that, Barry?
Well, I mean, he's got a point in that Fisher on occasion has played during the regular season when, maybe you could have seen Reggie Jackson or a Jeremy Lamb play a little bit more and develop. I do think, though, that Derek Fisher was invaluable in the playoffs last season. And when Mike Miller skirted to Memphis instead of Oklahoma City, the Thunder needed a veteran shooter as well as needs a third-team point guard. So Fisher's a good fit. I think it's a good, solid signing. You know what you're getting with Derek Fisher. He's proven he can still come through in the clutch. That Houston series, I don't know if the Thunder gets through Houston without Derek Fisher. So I'm okay with the signing. I sure would have liked to have seen Mike Miller, though, on the Thunder roster.
I'm with you there. But, yeah, I mean, I think this Derek Fisher signing, to me, he's not going to get Reggie Jackson's minutes. He's not going to get Jeremy Lamb's minutes. Now, DeAndre Liggins, I think he may struggle to make the team just because of all the other guys. But they did need a third-team point guard because you're really treading on thin ice if you go into an NBA season with only 2 point guards on your roster. And we saw coming out of the Summer League, there's nobody else on this roster right now that you feel like, man, you put the ball in their hands and everything's going to be okay, even against a second unit in an NBA game. So I have no problem with them going out and getting a third-team point guard, but I think the Thunder's going to notice that Derek Fisher is best at this point in his career when he doesn't play a bunch of regular season games. I mean, we saw that a year ago. You know, you didn't see him play a bunch of games before he came to the Thunder. The year before, he played a bunch for the Lakers, and he wasn't quite as effective. If they can limit his minutes, and I think they will, he'll be ready for the playoffs, and that's where they might need him most. All right, back to the inbox. This one comes from Aaron. Aaron says, why all the love for OSU to win the Big 12? First off, OU is getting knocked on for the bad defensive play last year, but OU is losing players that couldn't perform anyways. So why is it a bad thing to lose bad players? All right, Bear, we got 2 questions here. OSU's love and OU's maybe not getting so much love. What about all this?
Well, I mean, one reason OSU's a popular pick to win the Big 12 is because OU is not, and so and the reason you raise a good point, Aaron, about why is it a bad thing to lose bad players? First of all, the Sooners didn't lose all bad players. I mean, Tony Jefferson was all over the field. I know he was a disappointment in the draft, but he was a playmaker for that OU defense. They're going to miss him. And here's the other thing. If you got bad players playing, that means you got some bad players behind them. Now, maybe they're young. Maybe, especially in the secondary, I think they've got some good young prospects. But I don't see any rationale. I see no evidence for the OU fans to be excited about this OU defense. I mean, maybe they'll surprise us. But there is no reason to get on the Sooner bandwagon defensively right now.
Yeah, I can't see it either. And you wrote about this coming out of Big 12 Media Day, Barry, just the question marks that exist there. I think every defense in the Big 12 gets an assist this year by the fact that all those pretty darn good quarterbacks that we saw in the league last year, most of them are gone. I mean, most teams are without a proven quarterback. So every defense is going to get a little bit of a boost by the fact that Geno Smith is gone and Landry Jones is gone. And you look around the league at the number of quarterbacks that are gone. But if you're Oklahoma, you lose a bunch on the defensive line, which say what you will about the defensive line, but, it's going to be young and experienced. You're calling on linebackers now in a system that is dependent on linebackers who were kicked off the field at times last year. It's just really interesting, Barry, to see how this defense is going to transition. Can they come through and produce? I don't know at this point. I don't know what the answer is to that question.
It's not there's no reason for great optimism.
No. All right, back to the inbox for another question, and this one comes from Joe. Joe says, why are you surprised Texas is 4th? You put them there. Barry, this is directed at you.
It's a good question. I mean, I said I was surprised Texas fell to 4th, but I picked Texas 4th. I just thought, the media horde would raise
the you got to put them up higher, yeah.
If you look at national rankings, Texas is the highest ranked Big 12 team out there in most of the preseason polls. Then you get to the Big 12 media poll, and the Horns are 4th. I think it's attributable to Texas fatigue. I think in 2010, no one knew how far Texas was going to fall. And then in 2011, 2012, both years, people expect, well, the Horns will get back close to where they were. They'll rebound. And They really had disappointing seasons, and marked by that is the 2 games against OU in 11 and 12. Blowout city, 55-17, 63-21, really non-competitive. So that's why I think they're 4th. I didn't know that everybody in the conference would sort of have my Texas fatigue that I feel, but apparently they do.
Yeah, and I think Texas they've got a chance to be better than 4th, maybe a lot better than 4th, but they've still got issues that I don't see just disappearing because they're bringing back 19 starters. David Ash has still been inconsistent, and now they're going to run up-tempo because they feel like he's able to run up-tempo. Well, I'm not sure I've seen great evidence that he's ready to be this fantastic quarterback. Defense, they missed a lot of tackles last year. Does that just fix itself? I'm not so sure. So I think that they've made an attempt to fix some things down in Austin. I think Mack Brown has made an attempt to fix some things. Now we're going to see, is all this change coming together, it's going to have to be done on the field. I'm not there yet either. I think 4th is absolutely where they belong in preseason. All right, let's go back to the inbox, and this one comes to us from Jim. Jim says, had A&M stayed in the Big 12, would they have played for the national championship last year and quite possibly won it? Their only losses came early in the season before they'd hit their stride to teams they would not even have played had they remained in the Big 12. What about that, Barry?
Well, it's an interesting question. Obviously, A&M became an elite team last season, able to win at Alabama. Really played super down the year. Some people thought they were the best team in America by season's end, routed Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. You never know, but certainly it sets up to be a possibility. Would not have been easy to get through the Big 12 unbeaten. We've seen that the last 2 years with elite teams like Kansas State and Oklahoma State. 9 conference games. The Aggies might have played more losable games in the Big 12 than they played in the SEC because smaller conference schedule in the SEC and maybe more lightweights at the bottom. So it's a possibility. We'll never know. A&M still had a great year. Yeah,
for sure. But you know what? I think in the Big 12, A&M was running what everybody else runs, the spread. Now, clearly, Johnny Manziel and what he brings to the field is something that we really haven't seen much in the Big 12, and defenses we're going to have to adjust to. But you could clearly see these SEC defenses that A&M was playing against. It took them a minute to figure out what exactly they were up against because, try as you might to watch film and replicate it in practice, it still takes a minute to figure out the speed of that spread, the speed of Manziel. So I think that was part of it too, that A&M caught teams a little bit off guard. Will that continue this year? I don't know. But I'm not ready to say they would have played for national championship had they stayed in the Big 12, but it definitely would have been interesting because Johnny Manziel brings something to the table that you don't see around college football or anywhere else for that matter. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.